Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Forecast. I am your host, StormTracker8 Chief Meteorologist Matt DiNardo. But no, I am not alone. We are all looking at this storm for the weekend together, so I bring in StormTracker8 Chief Meteorologist. I just gave you a new title there, Madison.
Thanks. You know what? I'll take it.
There you go. I guess that comes with a pay raise. Also comes with a headache,
You know
too.
what?
And, of course, Tyler Hall, forecaster. How you both doing today?
I'm doing good, but we're still closely tracking this system and seeing what it has in store for us.
Yeah. And Tyler, and you're doing well? You got some rest finally after the weekend?
Yeah, a little bit of rest. Got a little bit of sledding in yesterday afternoon, but it was extremely icy, so completely different.
You go a lot faster in that ice.
Yeah, it was a little scary, but it's fun.
That's okay. You know what? Everybody needs a little bump and bruise. All right, let's kind of change things up here. We're going to make a couple of buttons, so just bear with me, folks. We're going to start things off giving you kind of a little bit of our key points that we're going to be talking about today. The lasting cold spell, we'll talk about that. Snow ratios and the math behind them. This is kind of a topic that came about because of the storm on Saturday, how powdery that snow was underneath the ice, and what might be coming this weekend. And, of course, the snow for this weekend. So a lot going on. Let's start you off with the number one topic, which is temperatures. One of the things that we were just talking about off the air was how cold it has been. But one of the things about that, we've been talking about single-digit overnight lows and highs in the 20s. And for some people in Central Virginia are getting some single digits, but most are staying around 10 to 15. So already that starts to show that this Arctic air, while super cold, might not be as cold as we originally had thought, nor that the models were showing. Madison, Tyler?
Yeah, so if we take a look at our surface analysis from the last 6 hours, we did have that cold front sweep over us yesterday, and that had that Arctic air trailing behind it. But like you said, Matt, we've been noticing some trends where it may not be pulling as deep and not really giving us as cold of temperatures as we were initially anticipating.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And then those daytime highs, Tyler, as well, have been a little bit warmer than what we anticipated. Yeah.
Right. I want to say Monday and yesterday we were above freezing.
Yeah.
So that led to obviously a little bit of melting, but as we've been talking about off the air, the neighborhood roads, the secondary roads are still incredibly icy right now. But the main roads, the interstates, the parkways, the turnpikes are in great shape right now.
Some of those shopping mall parking lots are just ridiculously icy.
They are,
out there. All right, let's talk about this. So we still expect this Arctic air to stay in place, and you could certainly see it. I mean, we are talking about temperatures, in the 20s for us. Right now we're sitting at 28, and again, time of the recording, you can see on the screen there, 154. But you have teens, you have single digits to the north. That's still going to stay in place. But one thing that is showing up here, it's not going all the way down. Like, okay, Atlanta's chilly, 44. Don't get me wrong. I'll bring you guys back up here.
Yeah.
But even that was supposed to be in the 30s. Right. And so kind of what I start to see is that the deep trough of cool air over the eastern third, yes, it's cold, but it's not as deep or as thick of cold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you can even see with the color gradient to show the differences in the temperatures here. We were even talking that we'd probably be in that really bright light blue color for much of the week, and now we're starting to see kind of that mid blue, and like you said, even Atlanta 44 pulling in those green colors with that gradient that we have. Yeah,
so that's a big deal there. Tyler, what are you noticing in this as well?
I'm just wondering, you talk about the fact that the cold hasn't gone as far south and east as originally anticipated. I'm wondering if the mountains are playing a factor in that as well, like
blocking it.
Yeah, geographically speaking, possibly.
Yeah. That's a possibility, right?
Yeah.
Not spilling over the mountains, easier to get through the Northeast and the upper Mid-Atlantic, let's say DC North, versus crossing through the Blue Ridge, and that's a very good point. That the mountains can protect us from weather, as we know, so that is a good possibility. All right, let's talk about this Arctic air coming on in. Madison, you developed this graphic here, so I'll let you roll on it for us and tell us what's going on.
Yeah, this is taking a look over the next 3 days. So for us here on Wednesday, this Arctic air still is moving south, but like we've mentioned, maybe not being as dramatic of a dip we were expecting. We can even start to see this level out, so to speak, come Thursday, where we are still seeing extreme cold conditions, but that's mainly for folks northern of us compared to us here in central Virginia. And then throughout the day on Friday, even, we start to see it's not as deep of a trough like you've been saying, Matt. And it's just kind of leveling out. We're still experiencing cold conditions, no doubt, but it's not anything dramatic. It's not really, really extreme and super, super deep like we've experienced in the past.
Yeah, and I don't want to interrupt here, but so what we're talking about, when we say deep, so people understand this, it's not this kind of sharp V going from the northern plains down to the Gulf, or really deep U, if you will, and then up the coast. That's what we call a full meridional trough, and that's not showing up. And so those slight changes have led us to see something developing in today's models for the weekend storm that we're going to get to in just a bit. We don't want to give it away just yet. We want you to hang with us. But there are some significant changes that we have noticed. So, all right, let's talk about snow ratios. Tyler, you're from the Northeast like me, Madison, Midwest.
Yeah.
This is a major deal when we're talking about any snowstorm. This is how heavy is that snow going to be?
Yeah. Is it light and fluffy like this past weekend, or is it wet, hard snow?
Right.
We threw in some graphics on that 10-to-1 ratio. So for this particular situation, a dusting, the overall ratio is lower. A half an inch of liquid equivalent would be 5 inches of snow in a 10-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy math once we take a look and break it down, especially for that 10-to-1. It's kind of those numbers that folks tend to hear about snow ratios. So in this case, at first we had just a dusting where there was almost no moisture and liquid available. But then we take a look at this next one that we're currently looking at, and that has half inch of moisture available. And then you do the math, 10 times 0.5, and that's going to give you that 5-inch snow total. And that's something that we pay very close attention to when we do have those snow systems coming. Now, in this case, we still have that half inch of moisture, but look, our ratio's changed 20-to-1. So you do that 0.5 times 20, that's going to give us 10 inches of snow. And that's really something that we pay close attention to when we're trying to forecast these snow systems that head our way, like we did last weekend, and even what we're going to be doing in the coming days for this upcoming storm.
Yeah, and so people can understand here, the way that we try to figure out the snow ratio, it's not like there's a model that says, the snow ratio today is, 10-to-1 or 12-to-1. We have to look at what's happening at the surface, our temperatures here, and then as we ascend up into the sky, we look at the 850 millibar temperatures, which is about 6,000 feet up, depending on the type of air that's over us. Obviously, the colder it is, the more dense. That 850 is a little bit lower, but those temperatures, how that's all changing, are we seeing warming, etc., that helps us to set up if it's a 10-to-1, a 5-to-1, a 12-to-1, 15, 20-to-1, or lake effect snow. When I was up in Utica, New York for a long time, it was not uncommon to have 30 or 40 or sometimes even 50-to-1 on extreme cases.
Wow.
So you get a tenth of an inch of liquid equivalent, and all of a sudden you're sitting there with 5 feet of snow, and you're like, wow, but you can literally take a broom and whisk it away. Okay, maybe not 5 feet, but you know what I'm saying. It's a ton, but there's no moisture with it. So it is pretty incredible. So snow ratios is what helps us to figure out what's going on there. All right, topic number 3. Tyler is the only one in this room that is a snow lover. That was called bus, and I just ran you over, Tyler. I'm sorry.
No, all good. No, I mean, I do like it. I just kind of having a hard time dealing with this cold, as I know you are, Matt.
Look, I'm not a cold fan by any means.
Yeah.
All right.
All good, all good.
So for the past couple of days, we have been talking about the weekend storm and what looked to be a Miller A scenario. And with the topic that we just talked about, and Tyler's going to take the lead here in just a second, we saw that the trough is not as deep, and therefore the cold air not pushing as far south. It's not going to reach the Gulf. So instead of a Miller A, this is a Miller B. Tyler, you want to kind of explain a little bit about what this Miller B is here?
Yeah, so basically, we'll continue to have the very cold air in place through the weekend, number one, from the Arctic Circle. And based on the very latest computer weather model runs that we were all just looking at, there's going to be a developing low over the Ohio and Tennessee Valley at the end of the week, and it's going to be kind of forming off of the North and South Carolina coastlines, basically, and really gaining energy and heading up the coast, essentially, and away from us.
Right. And this is one of those ways. Let's bring us all back up on screen here. There we go. Whether it's a Miller A or Miller B, that coastal storm can rapidly deepen. You might hear the term on, one of the weather channels, so to speak, or maybe even nightly news tonight, world news tonight, bombogenesis or, cyclogenesis.
Right.
That is where that coastal storm deepens rapidly and it bombs out. It becomes super strong. And so that is a possibility, whether it's a Miller A or Miller B. And in this scenario, and let's get into it, this is what we are looking at. We're going to watch this low coming down from Canada, and we're going to look in the models in just a second. It's going to move into the Tennessee Valley. This, again, really, when you look at the models today, if you're a weather enthusiast, starting off at 12Z, they really started to hint at this, moving across the Tennessee Valley, forming, as Tyler said, that new coastal low off of South Carolina. And then there are two main tracks. If you are Team Snow, you want Track A, which is going to hug the Carolina coastline, move up to Virginia Beach, and then hook north and east out to sea. If you are team, I'd like a little snow, but this is really going to be more for southern sections of Virginia and southeastern Virginia, that is B, and that one is basically forming off the coast of South Carolina and then maybe clipping Hatteras and then sliding out to our east. Those are the two main scenarios. Are we all in agreement on that, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so, for
all
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go, models. Let's have fun. All right, this is where we get all kinds of fun with you all, and we love to show you the different models. And I'll pull these up full. We're going to start off right away with the GFS model. And again, we don't hide anything from you all here. There's no hocus pocus. We use Pivotal Weather to help us with our looking at the models. We also use a different one. We'll show you that as well. So relatively quiet through the next couple of days. This is the area that I want you to watch right in here. This is our developing little wave, if you will. I need to change. There we go. That'd be better if I can zoom in. There we go. Now you can see that little wave there. This is as of Friday morning at 10 a.m. You're going to see really not a whole lot going on, but you're noticing this little closed upper low here, and the snow showers beginning to develop, and we now have some rain off the coast. If we were to look at this in a different way, and I'll show you that in a bit, you can see how we're now seeing our upper low indicated by these isobars that are bent. Notice there's no bent isobars down here in the Gulf anymore. So that's why immediately I started to look at this and with you guys, and we were like, uh-oh, this is a major change, right? So you see the closed circle here. That is the new developing low. Again, not all the times do we see the L there. We are starting to see some snow, possibly as early as 7 a.m. Saturday morning, but we're on the northern fringe of what's called the primary low. The new coastal low is developing here, and it goes into full blossom by the time we get into, let's say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Notice the bulk of the heavier snow is southeastern Virginia, North Carolina. Richmond is in some lighter snow. Even if I back that up just a bit, let's go to 1 o'clock. You could see if we kind of put Richmond right there at the top of the James, you're still on the edge of that lighter snow. And again, this is the European model, just giving you an idea. There's your low off of the coast of South Carolina at 995, so pretty deep storm. And then that continues to slide off to the east. See how it kind of moves up toward Cape Hatteras? But notice the projection is heading out to sea. And at this point, we're now, sorry, I moved the timeline there, 4 a.m. Sunday morning. It's southeastern Virginia. It's coastal North Carolina. It's even eastern North Carolina. But we're wrapping this up. That's a big change, guys.
Yeah.
That's
especially compared to what we were seeing, not just yesterday, probably the last 2 days, really, it started to really pull that moisture and energy in the Gulf, hop over Florida basically, and then redevelop that low, still off of the Carolina coast, but it was moving up the coast, and that was the trajectory that we were initially seeing once those models first started pulling in the hints of this storm. And then this is why we continue to watch the models as we get closer and closer to the events, because trajectories can change and where the energy is pulled from and how it's being manipulated in our atmosphere with all the different variables that we have.
Yeah.
Tyler?
Yeah, I was going to say a general rule of thumb is the further out you are in a storm, the more errors there are in the models. So when we get closer and closer into this particular situation, like last weekend, the confidence in the models is going to be growing, and the overall errors or the uncertainty is going to lower. So we'll be watching the latest model runs very, very closely between now and Saturday, and they should become better in agreement with this potentially Miller B setup as we were talking about.
Right.
And that looks like it would be more of a Hampton Roads, Southeastern Virginia impact, Matt, right?
That on the Euro for sure,
right?
Absolutely.
On the Euro,
right? Yeah. But again, we're gonna bring up. Let me get to this one here. I'll bring up the GFS. Whoops. Let's get all three of us in here. Sorry, we have so many buttons, guys. So this is the GFS now, and I'm just gonna kind of slide in just a bit tighter here. We are starting off at 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon.
Okay.
So we really don't have a whole lot going on here in the upper Midwest. I am looking at the bend in these isobars right across central Kentucky up into southern sections of Indiana. That's where our primary low is, and you start to see really not moving, but at the same time, now you start to see some developing rain off the coast of South and North Carolina, and this is 10 o'clock on Friday, right? We just want to slide down here. There isn't a whole lot going on in the Gulf. There is a little reflection of a 10-16 low, but that's not really the major player, right? That's the kind of the old reflection, if you will. Now we move this ahead. I'm going to go to Saturday morning at 10 a.m. There's our primary low up in the upstate region of South Carolina. You could see this little blurb here. This will be developing our new coastal. You see the snow stretching across most of the Commonwealth into western North Carolina. So this is really showing what's going on. I'm just going to advance it here to, there we go, we'll stop there. That's 7 p.m. And we're snowing really good in central Virginia. This is, again, the 12Z GFS coming on in, and this is your low. Now, that low, that coastal low, is going to deepen rapidly. You see it 992. So here's our cyclogenesis or bombogenesis or bomb cyclone, if you will. And the GFS really does an amazing job at creating a whopper of a storm. We went from 992 to 986 right there. That is a 6 millibar drop in the period of 3 hours. That defines bombogenesis by all standards.
Right.
And we can see it's so different from the European that we just looked at. Same model run, 12Z, but this is where the models differ. And like Tyler had mentioned, we're not seeing that agreement in the models this far out compared to similar how we were seeing last week. There's a lot of agreement pretty far out of a general idea of what this could be. And our models still are not seeing that for this coming weekend.
Correct. Yes. And as we even go on further here, I mean, we're 4 a.m. Sunday, we're 7 a.m. Sunday. Now we're starting to see the snow pull out of central Virginia, but still pounding eastern and southeastern Virginia. 973 low. I mean, this is a major whopper of a storm. And then that's going to head out to sea. See, so this kind of forms down off the coast of South Carolina, works its way north toward Hatteras, and then pulls its way to the east. Because of the rapid deepening of this storm is why the GFS is creating all of this moisture around us to create some tremendous possibility of snow. But to Madison's point and to Tyler's point, this is why on Monday, when we started talking about this after getting through this weekend storm, we said, don't believe the snowfall amounts that you're seeing out there, because not only did the storm type change in terms of Miller A to Miller B, the moisture is drastically changing. The positioning is changing. So when you saw somebody post a model, because I saw it, the GFS had 26 inches of snow for Metro Richmond, and somebody posted it with absolutely no explanatory value at all. It does nothing for us because
not at all.
It's horrible, right? So, and the GFS is the outlier for Team Snow, the ones who wish for us to be buried. Great, that's what you wish for, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. And then when you see that, you get so disappointed. Right? I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, guys. Let's talk about this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we hear it on social media, you know, give me some big snow. I want a big one.
Right.
As if we're the ones making the storm
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's.
Yeah.
I get that people look this. So this is really. I love Richmond a lot. I think it's great. And one of the things I love about it is a southern city, so much southern charm, but it also has a lot of northern transplants. Myself, I'm one of them. Tyler's one of them. Right there, there's many. Madison, you're Midwest. You're Chicago. Yeah, right. But so I think a lot of people who have moved down here who grew up with snow just want that whopper storm that they still see their families getting in Boston or New York or whatever the case may be, right? And so they want that type of, give me that one. Because
Right.
But you can't wish cast. That's the key.
Right.
I think something else to point out, after this past weekend storm, this not only affected us here at home, but other people across the country. And I, follow a lot of local meteorologists for different portions of the country. And a lot of folks said it really well after the storm, is people oftentimes have wishful thinking, but they also may have a false narrative of how much certain amounts actually are. And people might not know the difference between what a dusting and an inch to 5 inches and so on and so forth is. And we try to prepare people as best we can so that everybody can stay safe. Now, a lot of our models were giving us indications that this could have been the worst of the worst winter weather, and people prepared accordingly. Now, did it exactly happen as we thought? No, it did not. But then people were almost upset that we didn't see the worst of the worst winter weather. And I think something to keep in mind is we are here to forecast and to keep you safe as best as possible, whether that actually ends up happening or not. And in systems like this where people may be wishing for snow, we need to know actually what types of amounts, what they look like, and what they versus what somebody feels should happen after this storm passes.
Right. And some of the comments, that when we talked about that, I talked about this on Monday, was, well, you missed the storm. We missed the freezing rain. We said from I-95 West basically would be 3 to 6, and everybody got that. I showed the models and stuff like that. I showed the verification.
Right.
When you hear a forecast of 3 to 6, that means you could get 3 inches up to 6 inches. Right? There's a range that we give you. So if you get 3.25, 3.25, you hit the range, So, all right, I'm going to, go, I'm Tyler. I don't want to cut you off, Tyler. Go ahead, please.
I will say it's kind of the same thing with rain, right? Any big rain system, we call, I'll just throw out a number, 1/2 inch to 2 inches of rain across all of Central Virginia, just a simple example. And someone gets, a 1/2 inch somewhere, but they were like, well, you were calling for, 2 inches of rain. It's kind of the same thinking when it comes to rainfall forecasts as well.
It is, but I think snow is that more quantitative. Like, we put a number on the rain, but the people who really get most upset about the rain are the ones that have gardens or farmers in our area, right? Like they're like, hey, I need that rain, or maybe they've cut hay and it's got to dry, and then rain comes and they're like, because that crop is ruined. But but snow, everyone gets affected, right? I mean, we're still dealing with the effects today. Parents are going, when is my kid going back to school, right? So, All right, I'm going to bring up some more things here. We're going to switch things over. So we looked at the GFS and the European. You guys can go look at the icon. You can look at the GDPS, which is the Canadian. You're going to see the same things going on, that Miller B scenario. I have pulled up Saturday evening at 7 p.m. This is the European ensembles. Now, this is from 6Z because the new ensembles are not in now. But just looking at them, 1 through 25 on the bottom of the screen, we have a hit on number 1, a partial hit 2, a miss on 3, a miss on 4, a miss on 5, a hit on 6. It seems like every couple of panels is a hit, so it's probably 50-50 on that particular one. So just something to look at there, and you can check this out. And this is polar weather, polarwx.com, if you wanted to know that. And then just for, as they say, S and Gs, and I'll let you fill in the words there, we'll look at the AI GFS, because a lot of people are like, so what about the AI models? Well, they happen to have them on this polar, which is rather nice. So here's the system, right? There's the reflection of the snow kind of dropping on in. Nothing major. There we go. Now you see a system developing here in the Ohio Valley, South Kentucky, and you see the new one off the coast. So this is our Miller B scenario going a little bit south of us. And unlike the operational GFS, notice how the AI GFS is farther east and less snow for us. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's very interesting. And, you know, I mean, certainly, look, if you're Emporia to the Tidewater, I mean, this could be a bigger deal for sure. But if you're in Richmond North and West, that may not be the biggest of deals as we kind of slide that back and forth there. So,
Yeah.
Thoughts, guys?
I mean, you notice even that low that they finally pull up that develops, and this is, excuse me, I'm just checking the times for Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
And it does seem a little farther off of the coast than maybe some of the other ones that we were initially seeing develop closer to South Carolina and portions of North Carolina.
Right.
And as this finally strengthens and really dips down into those lower numbers for that low there, it does show a different trajectory and outcome that we could be seeing.
And the reason for that, and this is the nice thing about polars, you can actually draw on this. Instead of this big dip being like that, right, it's more, I don't know how to clear it. That's my only problem. But there's a clear right there. There we go. Our pattern is more like this. And so that's the flatter pattern. The cold air is not as deep. And that's why it's not dipping down to the Gulf and developing as that mill array. So I think we're going to see some substantial changes here. And if you ask me, yeah, I think Richmond will see some snow for sure. I think you guys are in agreement with that, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
But that's the key right there, Tyler. A little bit. I don't think it meant a little bit of agreement. A little bit of snow.
No, I'm sorry. A little bit of snow.
No, that's the point, right? Like, I think we're going to start to see these models progress more east and southeast of us. So Richmond and the metro area, yeah, we get some snow, but this might not be the big whopper that the operational GFS is showing because everything's starting to push farther east as a development based on the new scenarios that are showing up here.
Right, the new guidance.
Yeah. So, all right, let's we do have one last graphic. I'll see if I can pull this up here. There is, we kind of put this together. There is that Miller B, that system kind of sliding on down into eastern, western sections of North Carolina, South Carolina. That new low developing. I'll pull this up full so we can see that. And you can see, again, this then, based in one of our future casts, does ride up toward coastal sections of North Carolina around Cape Hatteras. You can see the clock there. This is 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. That then starts to spread some snow in by early Saturday morning. Notice where your deeper blues are. They're along the coast. And then before too long, this system is going to start to head out. See how it's starting to slowly pull away as we get into Sunday morning? Now, look, that doesn't mean we aren't going to see some decent snow, but if you're in Emporia or Tidewater, right now, based on what we're seeing, you have the better chance. Madison, I think you said that you looked up some interesting amounts for QPF amounts there.
Yeah, so when we're looking at these models, there's tons of different data products that we can pull, and QPF being how much moisture there is available when we're experiencing these systems, but then kind of going back to snow ratios, and we check those really high up temperatures in the atmosphere at 850 millibars, that helps us to really determine that snow ratio. So when I was looking at this, I want to say, I don't know if the 12Z1 run was exactly in just yet. So I was either breaking down the 6Z or the 12Z. Sure. That was my bad for not taking better note. But, you know, by Sunday, 6Z, pulling in about half inch of moisture in our atmosphere.
And this is which model?
This is on the GFS.
GFS, half inch
which
of
is
moisture.
the one that is showing significant
the biggest
snow amounts for us. And temperatures high up in the atmosphere, right around negative 10 degrees Celsius right now. At the end of the storm, it's pulling in probably, I'd say, about 3/4 of an inch of moisture, still holding on between negative 9 degrees Celsius to negative 10 degrees Celsius.
Okay, so that, just because of my quick knowledge of doing this, that's roughly a 15-to-1 ratio. I don't know if I can, can I get this up here?
I have a calculator right here that I can do some quick math.
I was trying to see if I can, it doesn't show. Anyway, all right, go ahead. You have a calculator.
All right, so we're going to, let's say we have that 3/4 inch of moisture by the end of the system, and we're sticking to, do you want to call it a 12 or a 15?
Call it a 15, okay. just for the snow lovers in the world.
Okay, so 3/4 of an inch of moisture times 15, that's giving us about 11 1/4 inches of snow. Now that's assuming that we're seeing consistent moisture and consistent temperatures at that level in the atmosphere throughout the entire system passing over us.
That's in perfect conditions. Did you happen to check out the amount of moisture from either the European or something else?
I did not get a chance to break down that one as much, just because I know people are really focusing on the GFS.
Because they want the big
and
stuff.
that is the outlier where, we could pull these numbers and say, hey, this is what it's showing us, but it's not necessarily going to happen.
Well, don't worry, because for real quick, and we're going to wrap this up really quick here, guys, because we have to go do some work here. But let's see. Let me grab this regional, pop this up here. Let's go in here, and we'll slide in. And this is I need the European. There we go. And loading in. And here we go to answer that question. Oh, wrong one. That one there. If you guys can see this, I'll zoom in tight.
Yep.
That is the total moisture for the storm from the European for Richmond and Petersburg, 0.1 and 0.3. So Madison has her trusty calculator.
Yep.
0.1 times 15, Madison. I'm going to guess that's way under a foot.
You'd be correct, Matt. That's about an inch and a half.
Yeah.
So very different from that almost a foot that we're seeing in the GFS.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. With that, we do have to wrap it up because it is now just about almost 2:25. And you know what, folks? I mean, we got to go prepare for our 4 o'clock news and other things that we have to do. So, Tyler, thank you so much. Madison, thank you so much. And all of our viewers, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being with us for this episode of, I almost said Off the Hook with Maddie Dean, for Beyond the
Not quite.
Forecast. Have a great one, everyone.